Mania all they want. It's not really though. That's how I see it. I'm just like, I don't know. It's very odd. I get everyone's point of view. People are saying, well, storylines will be dead if they just put it on pause for like 6 months. You know, so I get that. It sucks because it was like such a good card, and it would have been so good in front of everyone. I feel. But yeah, it's just very odd. I just feel with wrestling at the moment, I don't know if it's just because they want to be able to say it's been consistently going for 36 years and they don't want to skip a year. But if it was me, I would have done what everyone in British wrestling has done and just postponed it, stopped it. I know it's WrestleMania and it's a lot bigger than all this, but you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I feel sometimes they say less is more, so I feel like let's just wait until you can do it properly. That would be my opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll still watch it saying that.
yeah. No, I mean, we all will. That's the thing. Even the moaners will definitely watch it because there's nothing else to watch, right? So if you're a wrestling fan, you're gonna be intrigued.
Yeah, it's the only sport that's still going, I think, anywhere really.
It is the only entertainment going that's live as well. So there's nothing else out there. I mean, obviously AEW, I believe AEW are going to start taping their stuff, but the difference with AEW. I mean, the Tony Khan's dad, he owns the Jaguars, so they're able to go to their own stadium that they own, and they can do whatever they want inside there. Whereas, obviously, WWE, they have to hire these venues, and nobody at the moment is letting anybody in. So, hence why they've gone to the development centre. So, it's not going to be... You know, I just hope that... my personal stance on it, like I said this a few days ago on my podcast, was that I felt like... with the matches they'd already had set in motion, like AJ Styles and Undertaker and obviously Cena and Wyatt and all that stuff, I would have still had those matches, but I would have just put them on one at a time on Raw and SmackDown for the next 5 weeks. Just let them main event and just show archive footage around it, because that would let you go. Like, you'd have enough content for at least 4 or 5 weeks. And to be honest with you, what's interesting is they've been doing some big numbers on Raw. Obviously, everybody's sitting at home, so maybe that's why. But also the fact that they put on the Royal Rumble from this year, which was the first time it went out on network television, and it got a really good rating.
Really?
So they've got enough footage. I mean, they've got the network. They can just start putting this on TV a little bit more. Not to have all the stars turn up, coming in from all these different locations. Just seems a little bit like, I don't know, sort of not the most practical way, given the current circumstance. But, you know, I guess Drew McIntyre, I kind of feel for him a little bit. If this was his crowning moment, you know, it's not ideal, you know. I'm not sure how many times that would get replayed.
That's sort of like the understatement of the year so far. Is nothing's ideal.
No.
So at least they're trying to do something, I guess. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah, I think the key for me for the WrestleMania is the way they shoot the whole thing and the look of it. And I noticed now that they've taken they've taken the point of view that AEW have done, which is put the hard cam against the entranceway and not just like an arena and then empty chairs.
Yeah, yeah, that was something I said. Yeah, I was saying that to someone yesterday actually about. I was like, the thing is, at least with AEW, and same when they done when Ospreay done his Wrestle Talk one, when it was posted on the stage.
Yeah.
At certain points, you forget there's no one there because you're just focusing on stuff. When you're literally staring at blank, empty chairs, it makes it a bit awkward.
Yeah, I think that's how they need to do it. I mean, they've almost got to take the British Wrestling's own all-star approach to it, you know? What they've been doing for the last 30 years and just prop it up on the stage. Yeah, just work to one side. But I just hope... I mean, my thing would be... I mean, I wouldn't show any of the empty chairs because I think the moment you do that, as a fan, you're watching it, you're trying to escape. But as soon as you see empty chairs, that's the first thing you're thinking of. You know, why are we not there?
That's a good point as well,
yeah, and hopefully they get a little bit creative with the cameras and stuff like that, because obviously there's no fans around, so they can have the camera guy up on the turnbuckle or something. You know, like they used to shoot NXT at the beginning, where it was a little bit closer and into the ring, because obviously they're not going to get in anybody's way. So they could probably shoot it better. Hopefully they don't go for some grandiose entrance way. and it just seems pointless. I would like it, like the old Madison Square Garden used to be, like that really
when there was
tiny entrance.
Up to the ring,
yeah. I'd have something like that where you don't show anything else on the sides. Pretty much, you just work to the hard cam as much as possible.
I feel like it'll still be good. I just think it's just everything. Yeah, it's just a bit of a shame.
Have you? I've got to ask this. Have you ever worked have you been in any situation where you've had to work with very little people or little crowd response and stuff like that? And also, and if you have, how difficult is it?
I done a show once, like a random show. It was one of those I don't know where. I couldn't tell you where it was. And there was 4 people showed up, literally one family. Mum, dad, 2 kids.
Right.
And I did 2 matches because we done the whole sort of do a singles match and then leads to a tag for the main, really little pop-up show sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay, I guess. It was just hard. I remember thinking my main thing was calling stuff because it was sort of dead silent,
That's the thing, you get no reaction, do you?
Yeah, you get no. You do some big shows where the crowd are really hard. It happens. I guess I watched. I was on IPW when I was on IPW.
Mm-hmm.
It was Joe Janela versus G Money was one of the matches.
Right.
And even Joe Janela come back afterwards. I was like, Jesus, they were really hard. They just sort of. Some people just not that they're not enjoying it. They just like sitting there and just taking it in, just watching.
Mm-hmm.
So they are quiet rather than really interactive. Sometimes the family shows can be really good because they're a bit more sillier, so the people are more relaxed and they're make more noise.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. Back to the 4 people show. It was I found it hard. I just sort of done what we had to do. It's very different. But then I guess it's sort of like when you do a training match. When you're just doing it in front of the other trainees because they don't really react like a crowd.
Yeah.
When you're just sort of doing show and tell training sort of thing. I think that's sort of the way to say it. When you first start, that's sort of the first version of a match you ever have is in front of who's at training that day. So it's sort of like that. But I guess when they're at that level where they've got to work to cameras still, I reckon they're just probably just in the zone of just getting it done, I reckon. So
yeah.
But yeah, everyone in British wrestling's definitely had a match in front of under 20 people, I reckon.
Yeah,
it'd be hard to find someone that hasn't.
Oh yeah. I think most wrestlers. I remember a story. I think it was on I think he told it on his own podcast. Steve Austin said he performed in front of 4 people once in this big arena because there was some crazy storm outside, but they still decided to go on with it. I think it was him and Brian Pillman in a house show, but they was no, we're going to do it, and they went for half an hour in front of just these 4 people who were absolutely loving it, but they just wanted to give them their money's worth still. So definitely happens. I think the only thing I would probably unless you're, I would say with WWE at WrestleMania, I would just like the matches to be maybe a little bit quicker. Because obviously when you're...
so there's not these big 40 minutes slow storytelling matches,
because the heel and waiting for the babyface comeback and stuff it's just not going to be the same without getting the reaction, so there's not much point doing as much of that. If there was fans, it would be totally different, but obviously I think they've just got to sort of hit it out of the park, just hit the main bits, and hopefully it'll work. Obviously, the one thing, bit of news that did come out yesterday is there's no Roman Reigns now. We know that much. He's not going to be travelling. Obviously, I mean, to be honest with you, it would be ridiculous and pretty... for WWE to expect him, given what he's gone through. So that's a match that's going to be tweaked. The rumour is Braun Strowman, I believe, that's going into that. But, I mean... I think Rey Mysterio as well. I think Rey Mysterio was I think he's off the card as well for some coronavirus concerns, with people in his family. But I'm quite surprised that WWE up to this point have been this fortunate with their current crop of wrestlers that they've.
Yeah, it was I think they said like Pete Dunne and obviously anyone that's international is travel ban, so they lost. There's no NXT tag title match. With Pete Dunne, and same with Walter as well. Obviously, he lives in Germany, so it's, a lot.
I'm sure. One thing's for sure, we'll never forget this WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure of that one. This will be one that stands out. Because the thing is, like for me, like because I've obviously with the podcast, I've been going back on like some old WrestleManias. We've been doing some reviews and stuff, and it's fascinating because for me as a fan, like I could easily tell you all the main events of like say up to about the first 20, but then everything starts looking the same. Like since they've started doing the sort of gigantic stadiums, it's like production. It's almost like it's got to its absolute best, with the lighting, the entrances. It all kind of looks the same. Like it's all very much the same, even though they're in these grandiose stadiums. It's very hard to identify and distinguish one from the other. So if you was to like show a bit of footage on TV, I just couldn't do it. But if you was to show me like 1 to 20, it would be easy, a piece of cake, because they were all very different. Even the logos were really different and unique. But yeah, everything's like for me, everything's become in a way too perfect. In essence, it's like I don't know if you play the video games. But of like 2K and that, but like entrances in WWE, they're just like the 2K entrances. Like they don't ever change. They do the exact same thing, and the camera angles and everything are exactly the same. No matter what night you go on, it all looks the same. There's no sort of like nuance to anything. It's just all perfect. In that regard. So I think this will throw things on their head a little bit where WWE have got to start getting a little bit more creative than normal, and hopefully like this brings out the best in them a little bit, because they're normally pretty good when their backs against the wall like this, so hopefully.
Well, it's weird, like, to be fair, I haven't really been watching much. I got the network back on Monday because of this lockdown. So I have been watching a bit more stuff recently, but like, that was my thing. I seem to prefer like not like indie stuff, because I don't just sit through and watch a whole New Japan show. I'm more of like, if I see someone says, "Oh, this was a good match," then I'll go and watch it. I'll do that, or I'll stick to certain wrestlers and follow them and what they're doing and watch their stuff. So. For a lot of the time before all this, I was watching. My main source of watching wrestling was from just being on shows and watching the rest of the show, sort of thing. But I get what you mean. Is in the fact of like it can be too clean, like too. You know what I mean? Like it's not
too perfect.
Yeah, too perfect.
Yeah,
exactly. So
now when you was like, when you was like younger, who was like your sort of go-to wrestlers, like when you was a fan, like as a kid and that? Who was your sort of guys that you'd follow the most?
So I watched Jeff Hardy when I first started watching it, and then I like CM Punk. I'd say Jeff and CM Punk really when I was a kid, and then again when I started watching it again was when I started training. So it was more like...
I remember that actually when you and I first met, and I'd done your interview. I remember you distinctly talking about CM Punk. Now rings a bell that you missed his like main run.
Yeah, I missed the main run. When I started watching it again, I think it was the Raw after Mania 27,
right?
Or whatever one. No, it wasn't. It was later than that. It was basically The Rock had just finished. Like he just done. It was
okay, so it was like 29. Yeah.
29 then. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy run he had, and the fact that they had like he's really good with the mic, and they also paired him up with Paul Heyman. It was like they were like knocking promos out of the park every single week. The pair of them, that was a really good combination.
I haven't watched much of it. I've watched bits, but I haven't really like. I know what happened. That's like from what like you watching YouTube videos and sort of stuff like. But I haven't gone back and watched any, so I've got some free time at the moment, so could be added to my list of things to do.
Good opportunity there for you to get sucked into that, and like Jeff Hardy, like what a crazy career he's had. He's been like everywhere, hasn't he? Like just up and down.
Yeah, well,